You're live. Okay, we're live. All right. Welcome to our Thursday night call-in show. You know the format. Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, or a few minutes after that. We fire up the SoulWords Studios high-tech gadgets and gear over here, and we bring to you freshly minted, high-quality entertainment, or as I like to call it, edutainment. Little portmanteau. Is that what it's called? Is that the word? Guys, help me out. What do you call it when you take words and you put... Yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Portmanteau.
Portmanteau. I'm sorry, portmanteau. Never judge a person who mispronounces a word. It means they learned it through reading. And apparently learning things through reading makes you a smarty. Okay, portmanteau. Edutainment is a portmanteau, I believe. Prove to me I'm wrong. I dare you. Okay, so we are coming... Spoonerism. No, a spoonerism is our dear queen becomes our queer dean. There was actually a guy named Spooner who referred to Queen Victoria as our queer dean instead of our dear queen. That's a spoonerism. That I know. I knew what a spoonerism is. And by the way, anyone who's watching the replay and they're like, why is he talking about spoonerisms? Because in the live chat, someone wrote spoonerism. But it was a... malapropism. You're saying spoonerism was a malapropism. Malapropism. The mistaken use of a word in place of a similar sounding one, often with unintentionally amusing effect. As, for example, dance a flamingo instead of dance a flamenco. Or, famous one, there was a particular rabbi who mentioned at a dinner speech how his wife made spaghetti with marijuana sauce. That's a real one. That really happened. Okay. All right. What's that dinging? Oh, that's my thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yisrael Taub is with us live. Just poke your head in here for a second. Just poke. That's it.
There we go.
Okay. They can't hear you unless you get on the mic here.
Hi, everyone.
This is my son, Yisrael. And at this juncture, I would like to thank Yisrael and Malki, Taibel and Moshe, the two married couples who help out. They were the ones who pushed this to happen, and they make it happen every week. And they work tirelessly behind the scenes, especially Taibel, who gets a lot of abuse and grief because she is basically the one who runs the SoulWords offices. So whenever I'm freaking out and I need something, I'm texting her, and yeah, she gets a lot of stress from her dear old dad. Okay, Taibel, we love you. You're the best. Hope that doesn't exacerbate the trauma by making light of it in a public forum. Okay, was noch, as they say. What else before we get to our first caller of the evening? The callers are always amazing. I am blown away by the quality of the calls that we've been having. Last week, I incorrectly said it was episode 6. I think it was only episode 5. But tonight, I'm making an honest man of myself. Tonight is episode 6. Okay. Before we jump into our calls, I want to just talk about a couple of things. Someone's saying hi from Nova Scotia. Hi. From Halifax, Nova Scotia. That'll be probably the only city I know of, Nova Scotia. Thank you, SoulWords helpers. Your efforts are appreciated and enjoyed. I'm just looking at the chat. Okay. So, a couple of things. What is it you saw? You're looking nervous.
Not nervous.
You're not nervous. What?
It's all perfect.
It's all perfect. Okay. So, watch this. Watch this. Well, hold on. Watch this. only hear me when I come back. Because there's a button you have to push to make it that you could hear me and see another media file. How did that work? Did it work? You could hear me? Okay, so that's amazing. So, so here's what we're going to do. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Does anyone know what echolalia is? Watch this. This is a rather benign one. Okay. Israel is smirking. Okay. Oh, you couldn't hear? You could not hear? Oh, Tybo's saying you could not hear while the thing was on the screen. Okay. So at any rate, that thing that was on the screen, I'm going to tell you what it was right now. That is 9x9 Tech Services. We want to thank Mendel Simon and his team of 9x9 Tech Services for powering this call-in show and making it possible for us to connect with our amazing audience. 9x9 Tech offers a one-stop service for all your communication needs, along with personalized tech solutions catered specifically towards your business. Visit 9x9, that's 9X, the letter X, 9x9 Tech, that's tech with a CH.com today. That's 9x9tech.com. Thank you, Mendel and team, for your incredible support. By the way, does anyone else get a feeling that I could have had a career as an AM radio announcer? I could have done that. Don't you feel that I could have done that? Okay. What else did I want to say before we get to our callers? The parenting course is kicking off on Tuesday and Wednesday. The men's track is on Tuesdays. The women's track is on Wednesdays. Yes, there are separate men's and women's tracks. Why? It works better that way. Trust me, if I could get away with only having to give the class once a week, I would do that. But it just works better for the interaction and the sharing. It's a live thing. It's not recorded. Not some lazy guy who pre-records stuff and uploads it and then charges you hundreds of dollars to watch something that technically you could have just watched on YouTube. No, it's an interactive thing. Okay. So Tuesday nights is the men's group. Wednesday nights is the women's group, and it's starting next week. And if you don't want to miss out, and you don't want to miss out, and I'm being 100% serious, I know I sound like I'm joking around right now. Pause. At this point, over 2,000 mothers and fathers have gone on this 6-week parenting journey with me, and many of them have called it positively life-changing. They've seen the results in improved bonds with their children, more peace in the home, more general good feeling, goodwill between their children and them, and just a general improvement in the overall feeling of good vibes. So I really, really, really strongly encourage you, do not miss out. And you're going to say, I'll do it next time. There may be no next time. And I'm not joking. Because the way the course works is I do offer it live. It's actually live. You come on a live video conference with me. I can't continue doing this like constantly. I only do it maybe once or twice a year. And then every time I finish doing it, I say, I'm never doing this again. So I don't know if I'm going to do it again, but I'm doing it this week. And if you, please don't do what everybody does and email me the day after it starts and be like, can I start? Like, why do people always do that? Like, why does everybody come to 7-Eleven 5 minutes after closing and tell the cashier, you're going to make so much money off of me. You don't want to lose a big customer like me. Like the guy, like it makes a difference to him. Okay. Well, actually, in my case, it would make a difference to me because actually there would be more income for SoulWords. I want to talk about that in a second, by the way. SoulWords needs money. But yeah, but I can't let people in late because it would compromise the value of the product. It's a journey and you have to go through it in real time. And if I let people in late, they won't have the maximum impact. And yeah, I could charge you and I'd collect money, but I'm more concerned with having the maximum impact than making a few more dollars. And the only way for you to have the full experience is to start on time with the group. So Tuesday night and Wednesday night, we're starting a new cohort. SoulWords.org/parenting. I'll repeat that again. SoulWords.org/parenting. And for the baby boomers, that's www.soulwords.org/parenting. Did anyone laugh at that joke? Did anyone laugh at that joke? That was a good joke. I wish I had a studio audience. Okay. By the way, I'm looking at the chat. Go Tybal. Yes, indeed. You bet AM radio, any radio. Yes, or a radio announcer. Yeah. You guys know who Ken Nordine is? Go look him up. Ken Nordine. Word jazz. Okay. What's Rabbi Taub's favorite book which explains the Tanya? Practical Tanya? My favorite book which explains the Tanya is called Tanya. And I'm very, very passionate about that. I believe that the Tanya was written to be understood. The Hagdamas HaMalakit, the compiler's preface, which the Alter Rebbe wrote, says very clearly, this is the book. And if you can't figure out the book on your own, get a local teacher. That's what it says very clearly in the compiler's forward of Tanya. So use the regular Tanya and get a local teacher. Okay. And what local means today with the internet, I'm not sure. All right. FYI, YouTube is running other ads on this stream, which shows you another video. Okay, well, I don't know what to do about that. But then you do it again. I'm just reading chats here. Should you take the course if you don't have kids yet? No, and I'll tell you why. Because the way the course works is at the video conference, I say a bunch of abstract stuff that won't make sense until you actually implement it. And then during the 7 days from one class till the next class, you go and you implement it. And then you come back and we say, hey, how did that go? How was the implementation? So the only way for it to really stick is if you can apply it right after each class, in between one class and the next week's class. Someone wrote, I chuckled. I'm assuming you chuckled at the baby boomer Stach. Yes, okay. Highly recommend the parenting course. Thank you very much. I don't know why not. You can always learn something for yourself, for family. But like I'm saying, it's not so good to do it if you don't have children yet, just because the style of the presentation is very abstract. It's the concepts, and you can't really get the practical side of it unless you're doing it yourself during the interim days between classes. All right, I want to mention SoulWords needs money. I really, really need a bunch of money. I'm trying to finish construction on the house. Everyone here is a big SoulWords fan, so you know about the house, but I'll humor you as if you don't know about the house. We bought a property, Baruch Hashem, half a block from the Eihel, from the Lubavitcher Rebbe's resting place in Cambria Heights, Queens. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So that we got that property. Thank God. All right, we have that. We have a mortgage on it. We don't own it free and clear, but we put a down payment and we have the house. Okay, so that we did about 18 months ago. Then this summer we started construction. Maishi, who's my son-in-law, who's also part of this call, he's my right-hand man on the construction. So we started construction this summer. We're probably going to be able to finish in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm hoping, with Hashem's help. But I'm like $150,000 short to pay the contractor. And I hope the contractor's not listening because he's going to get nervous. And no, I do not intend to stiff the contractor. He will get paid one way or another, but I kind of need a miracle over here. So room naming dedications, when you want to name the library, you want to name the kitchen, you want to name the main event space, let me know. Contact me, rabbi@soulwords.org, rabbi@soulwords.org, and I'll give you my wire information. So, if somebody wants to be a benefactor, we need some serious money in order to get the SoulWords house up and running. And just so you understand what the SoulWords house is, the first floor is basically going to be just a wide open event space where we're going to be able to get together and we'll have Verbringens and we'll have classes and meetings, and it'll be like what we experience online, but we'll do it in real life and maybe even have a little bit of food. And Yisrael's the kitchen manager. Want to say hi again, Yisrael? Here.
Hi again.
Yisrael, tell everyone about the kitchen.
The kitchen is...
Go on camera.
Let me try to go on camera.
No.
Oh, I'm going to pull it out. Okay.
Just lean in.
Lean in. Hi, everyone. The kitchen is going to be state-of-the-art, amazing. lots of good product we're going to make. We're going to have great catering, events, and everything from A to Z.
Okay, excellent. Very good. ChatGPT. Very good. So, that's happening. Fine. Before we get started, I've had this on my desk the whole time, and I just, this is a little bit leftover Sprite Zero, traces remnants of Sprite Zero. I'm going to open up I got this special this afternoon. I was at the Seasons Express, and I picked up this Dr. Brown's Black Cherry Soda. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Brown's Black Cherry Soda is probably the second most quintessential Jewish cultural icon as far as beverage selections go. Now, the number one, who knows? The number one most iconic quintessential Jewish cultural beverage would be, who knows? I'm going to check in the YouTube comments and see if anybody gets it. And if Chaim Cohn is watching, please, Chaim, save some for the rest of us. You don't have to answer all of the questions. Okay. Somebody gave $20. Was that Moishi David? Moishi David gave $20. Okay, for the house, please name a room after me. $20 with a bunch of smiley emojis. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can you possibly share some parenting books in order to prepare? My wife and I are planning on having kids in a year, or maybe anyone in the chat. I never read a parenting book, and yet I teach a parenting course, but it's great that you bring that up. My parenting course is not based on parenting books. It's based on our holy Torah. It really is. It's a spiritual course, which is what sets it apart from other parenting courses. It's not tips and tricks. It is deep spiritual principles that are timeless. Okay, that's how it works. All right. So, Cressel Houseman, you have an incredible name. I love that name, and you are correct. Dr. Brown's Celery is the most iconic, quintessential Jewish cultural beverage. That is 100% correct. You were not thrown off by the fact that the number 2 was Dr. Brown's Black Cherry, and you thought maybe, how could they both be Dr. Brown's? Because they are. They both are Dr. Brown's. The number 1 most culturally iconic, quintessential Jewish American beverage is Dr. Brown's Celery. And for those who don't know, that is, and don't laugh and don't judge, a celery-flavored soda pop. Celery-flavored soda pop. I'm going to pop this. And some people say it's pouring off for the dead homies. Others call it Mayim Royim, but you do like a little drop, as explained in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Okay. Cressel says, my dad used to drink that. Who wrote Tab Cola? Tab Cola. No. Tab Cola is the drink of 1970s debutantes. That's a sorority drink from the 70s, Tab Cola. L'chaim v'levracha. Okay. Hi, Rabbi Taub. As an HSP, I've been struggling years on end. I'm in a lot of emotional pain constantly, day and night. Best advice? Wow, that was heavy. Yes, how about this? Email us at info@soulwords.org, and I can't get you on tonight because we have a full line of callers, but maybe next week I'll get you on the show and I'll talk to you. Okay, fine. Yisrael, are you ready? Okay, 3 in a queue. Say, hi, Melissa, welcome.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, thanks for having me on tonight.
It's our pleasure. So, what's going on? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I've been following you on Instagram for a while. I really enjoy all of the reels and things that you make. So when I saw you put a call out for inquiries into speaking on the show tonight, I was like, I'm going to go for it. So
Great.
I sent a message out, and, the gist of me, I'm a 40-year-old mother of two beautiful children, married for 14 years with a loving husband. I've struggled with depression in my adult life, and I've gotten myself to a point where I'm pretty confident in my ability to balance myself. But, from time to time, find myself falling down. Something that I'm trying to work on right now is cultivating more of a sense of like, what do I want as a person? What is my life? What is my purpose, and what do I enjoy? And being someone who's been somewhat of a people pleaser for a greater part of my life, I'm kind of struggling to answer that, just a simple question of like, what do you want? What do you like? So I was hoping you might have a little advice for fellow HSP who is just kind of trying to navigate the path of self-discovery, and kind of rediscovering my own spirituality and how God would play into that too.
Yeah. So it's great that you're trying to figure yourself out and understand what you're here for and what is special about this embodiment that you've been placed in. In other words, what are the opportunities and the responsibilities and the duties that are unique to you? That's what it's all about. One of the things, though, that I have to point out, because you're blessed to be a mother of, you said you have two children?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. The way that you phrased it is your life's been about others. Well, you didn't say those exact words, but you sort of said you're a people pleaser and you don't really know what you're all about. You're really kind of, your experience has always been, how do you take care of what other people want? So what I want to say before we get into what you're all about is that when you're a mother or a father, you actually are meant to completely set yourself aside and put your child's needs not only first, but you're supposed to make your child's needs your only concern. So in that relationship, the mother-child relationship, it actually is proper that it be completely self-effacing. It's an act of complete surrender where it's like, it's not about me. And obviously our kids grow up, and in time they become less dependent on us if all goes well. But there are many years, especially, I don't want to say something that's going to sound sexist or patriarchal, but I think it's a fact. I think everybody knows that mothers are more instrumental in the education of children than fathers. I'm not denigrating or minimizing the role of fathers. Fathers are incredibly important, but I'm saying as far as one-on-one exposure, putting in the actual time, being present with the child, I hope it's okay in today's day and age to say that it's just a fact that when a woman becomes a mother, there is to a great extent a large chunk of time, perhaps even decades, where in many ways her life's not about herself anymore. So, when you're a mother, it really is selflessness. It really is about taking care of these kids. Now, having said that, there is something to be said for Melissa knowing who she is as well, not just as a mother. Mother is an incredibly important, maybe even the most important role that you were given, but you have other roles as well. You're a wife, and then there are other roles that you have as well. And it's important for you to understand what those roles are. But I just want to make sure that in the process of this self-discovery, that we don't end up in any way losing the plot as far as the selflessness that's required in motherhood.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, I definitely feel like that is the primary charge that has taken, hold of my life since they came into it 14, and 9 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love being a mother. It's just something I really enjoy, and so I completely agree with you in that regard.
Okay, fantastic. And both things can be true. It can be in as a mother, in that part of your life, it's just what you can do for them. And then there are other parts of your life that are what you can do for yourself. But even when we do things for ourselves, we have to define that, because it's not the way that the world normally thinks of doing things for myself. The way the broader world out there talks about, like, me time, I got to take care of me, I got to put myself first, they often mean it in a completely, what I would call, closed loop, closed system that ends up being a zero-sum game. What I mean by that is they take care of themselves so they can have more energy to take care of themselves, which is just as absurd as the common lament, I go to work so I can earn money so that I can live, so I can go to work, so I can earn money so I can live.
Yeah.
Right? When you become engaged in self-care for its own sake, it also becomes a snake eating its tail. So there has to always be something bigger than me that I'm tethered to. So that when I'm engaged in self-care and doing the things that nurture my soul and energize me, there's always, at least in the background, this notion of what will I then do with this energy? Where will I direct it? Toward what project, which is ultimately greater than myself? So I think that's the way to phrase it. It's like, what is there in your life that you can be passionate about, that feeds you, that nurtures you, that makes you feel like your special gifts are being tapped into? But it's not just about self-indulgence, God forbid. It's, to the contrary, it's about you becoming more productive, more giving, more involved in other people's lives, and ultimately in the betterment of humanity. So does any of that resonate with you, as far as, like, you have...
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have any specific thoughts?
It's definitely a feeling of, like, not having a direction outside of, the obvious wife and mother roles. Is like, I am a worker. I'm in the workforce and part of a family business, and not feeling completely engaged in that, and trying to think, well, how do I find purpose in that? Or is there another purpose that I need to find?
Sometimes elsewhere? A job is just a job.
Yeah.
Is that the case here? I mean, sometimes a job is very stimulating. There are challenges and problem solving, and it can be a source of personal growth. But sometimes a job is just a job. It's just a way of paying the bills.
Sure, and it has been and is both for me. I think more and more I'm a little more, like, disenchanted with kind of the political climate surrounding it, that is kind of like a roadblock to progress in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. So your
industry, and you don't have to share what the nature of the business is, but you're saying it's been politicized, and basically there are a lot of hoops you got to jump through that have nothing to do with the real product.
Yeah, sure. And I was part of the advocacy efforts for a lot of that, and it felt like banging my head against the wall doing a second job that wasn't necessarily related to the primary, responsibilities that I had inside our office, so to speak.
I'm wondering, so I'm so curious, like, I'm wondering how much you would be willing to reveal to us what you're involved in and what the challenges were.
Yeah, it's healthcare. It's the home healthcare industry specifically. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like an operations director, and we work with, the departments of Medicare and Medicaid services. So I've been engaged more on a a state level with our state Medicaid department and aging departments specifically, because we provide so much care to seniors. So I've just been, very active in our state trade association doing advocacy work to basically get rid of barriers to care for like elderly and disabled citizens. And it's just kind of it's a rough environment to be in. And yeah, absolutely. A couple times.
Because it's very political, and there's big money, and the people who are making decisions don't really think about the human side of things. They're not really thinking about somebody's grandmother. No. Yeah, that's exhausting and disillusioning and frustrating and heartbreaking. I'm wondering, let me just test the waters here. As much as you did not enjoy that aspect of your job, like you called it a second job in order to be able to do your real job, I'm just wondering, and the answer may be no, but I wouldn't know the first thing about advocacy for healthcare. You know eminently more about the subject than I do. So if I wanted to make a difference in that area, I would not even know where to begin. But you would. So I'm just wondering, as somebody who has unique experience and unique insight, is there any activism that you could be doing that would not feel like banging your head against the wall?
In the healthcare space, do you mean?
Yeah. That's where you have unique experience. I know it's a sleazy environment and you've seen a lot of bad stuff, but, you were already sent there.
Yeah.
And you already were exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
You already know. Mm-hmm. You know the ropes, at least more than 99.9% of us.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's interesting you should ask that, because I recently, in backing out of a few of the advocacy groups, reached out to a reporter to share my experience and see if there was, because within the conversations that we were having as an organization, people were like, we need to litigate, or we need to reach out to news sources, and no one was actually doing it. And when I kind of threw my hands in the air, I reached out to somebody in our state, and we're kind of like going back and forth, setting up a time to talk and that sort of thing. But
with a reporter,
I think that may be what you're referring to.
It's exactly what I'm referring to.
It's just trying to amplify it in a different way.
So we started off, you were talking about where can you find fulfillment? Where's your calling? And there may be a lot of things that you are uniquely fit to do, but here's one of them that I know is rare. Most people wouldn't know the first thing where to even get started, even if they cared about the subject. It sounds like you already know. You know the situation, you know the people, you know the players, you know the names, you're in touch with them, you have opportunities. I know it's so exhausting because you're dealing with this machine, and at the end of the day, it's like real people's lives and quality of life, and it's heartbreaking to be up against that type of bureaucracy. But that's, for now at least, that's how things get done. Everything is political. Everything is networking. Everything is who you know. That's just the way that this world works for now. And if you have insight, I think you got to use that. I think God put you in those situations and gave you that education. And now you got to use it. And I know it's exhausting. Yeah. And I know that you sort of like stepped away from it because of the emotional, how emotionally draining it is. But maybe if you could think about the fact that Right. But maybe if you could think about the fact that as emotionally draining as it is, you are certainly way more poised to actually make a difference than any of the rest of us. Like I said, if I wanted to get started, I wouldn't even know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know the terms. I don't know what words to use. You do.
Yeah, and I guess one of the reservations I've had too is that coupled with the frustration and the heartbreaking aspect for the compassion for patients is there's a frustration with the way that things do work and who does get help in certain situations that I feel really uncomfortable talking about with some people because, you know, it has to do with like immigrant communities and taking advantage of the benefits that are afforded to them when they come in the country. So, you know, but there's a lot of excessive resources that are pooled and taken advantage of in a way that, you know, has kind of held me back from that. So I guess I've just been not sure where to go with it, but I appreciate your insight.
I think, you know, it's not your main job. It's not, I mean, it certainly doesn't directly pay the bills. It's what's that echo? Why do I hear an echo? But it's activism and it's something that you're uniquely poised to do. And to the extent that you can do it without getting too burnt out, I think it's an important thing for you to do. Obviously, number one priority is to your family and then to your actual job. But then with that is this unique form of activism. You still with me?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
I am. Yeah. Just kind of taking it in.
Yeah. You how disappointing is it to think that this may be where your talents are going to be most featured and well used?
It's intimidating, I guess.
Why?
But it's not like something surprising because I've just been trying to figure out where to put that energy, like where to direct it. I guess I've just been hoping I'd find something else that I equally can be passionate about. And
you can try pottery.
And put all that energy into.
You can throw pots.
This took a lot of time to get here.
Potter's wheel, you know, with clay, and you can paint it, get a kiln. But
yeah,
a lot of people can do pottery. Really, seriously, you were given a unique education. I don't know how many other people there are in the world, let alone in your state, who know the inner workings of this world and are able to maybe make a difference. And so I would definitely pursue that advocacy avenue for yourself and call those reporters. And yeah, and if it comes to litigation, yeah, so you do that too, whatever it takes. A lot of times it's just really, it's about, I got to tell you, most things in this world, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's networking. So you hang out with the people who make the decisions. You end up having an influence on them. So if you already know who the players are, you have a leg up on the rest of us because we don't even know who to talk to. And the people who make the real decisions are not the people that you elected into office. It's not the people who whose face is on the postcard that comes to your mailbox a week before Election Day. The people really making the decisions, you know who's making the decisions, are people working in some office who decide on policy, and they have very specific reasons why they think that those decisions are the best. I mean, basically, okay, so everyone just should understand how it works. Politics is basically people with good hair and who know how to smile and speak in sound bites, so they run for office. Then they have a bunch of people working for them who are the nerds who actually understand and care about political science and government and actually could like tell you the different articles of the Constitution. And those are the people in the office. They make decisions. They make decisions based on I hate to say it, but what will keep them employed? What will keep them employed is something called re-election. So the guy with the good hair has to get re-elected. So they make decisions based on what they think their constituents want. That's how democracy works. It's the ultimate form of pandering. So, at any rate, it's worse than reality TV. You know, it's like the sleaziest form of entertainment where you're just playing to the lowest common denominator. That's what democracy eventually devolves into, because you're just giving people what they want. At any rate, you know all of this. Go to lunch with the right people and send them fruit baskets and whatever else you got to do. And you know the game. Play the game. And make,
right. Yeah, no. And what you're saying is that the act of self-preservation is so central to everything that is the government department. It just becomes, how do I stay here? How do we keep this going? Even if it's not working, how do we keep this going?
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to pause there for a second. Remember I said before that the way that many people engage in self-care is a closed system, which basically you take care of yourself so you have energy to take care of yourself more, and it lacks meaning. Mm-hmm. That's what government is. Mm-hmm. It's a system that perpetuates itself for the sake of perpetuating itself. Which is ultimately meaningless and pointless and just breaks everybody's heart who gets near it. But don't be intimidated and don't be dismayed. You're going to make a change, and you're going to help somebody's grandmother and help a lot of people's grandmothers and grandfathers and eventually all of us who need that kind of care. So it's an incredible opportunity you have.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks for the time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Really, I appreciate your openness and your vulnerability talking about all these things, and I really, really think that you're going to accomplish amazing things. Please let us know how the lawsuit goes.
I'll keep you posted.
But a really good fruit basket could avoid a lawsuit, so you have to weigh the two options. Okay, awesome.
I'll keep that in mind. Maybe some celery soda.
Celery soda, yes, absolutely, yes. You'll set them up with a 12-pack of celery. I don't even think they sell it in 12 packs, actually. But yes, that's right. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take the next caller. All right. That was awesome. That was Melissa. That was a great call. And I think she's going to accomplish great things. And I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a made-for-TV movie about her life. Come back and tell me I'm wrong. Okay. Michael, welcome. Michael's on the show.
Rabbi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. Thank God. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Glad to hear it.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, I think the simple question would be, am I going crazy, or am I just having a sane reaction to an insane world as I become more myself? That's the simplest way I can think to put it.
Common question. It's a common question. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about it. What's this reaction you're having to this world, which in some ways is an insane world? Yes.
Well, I would say that after a long and invested journey of healing that totally consumed all of my focus and all of my energy and a bunch of various modalities, I've arrived at a place where I really authentically feel more like myself than I ever have before. And after expressly searching and seeking for my purpose, either in the micro day-to-day life and also more broadly, like what am I doing here on this earth, really feel like I have found it. And what I notice is that on this path, I've really increased in all manner of self-awareness. And what that's led me to observe is two things. One, my intensity and my focus and my, what I would just call zeal for the objects of the things that I'm most curious about has increased, and it is not showing any signs of slowing down. In fact, it's only gaining momentum.
Some people call them special interests.
On the special interest. But then on the other hand, I notice how much more starkly in contrast I am to the world around me. And I look at myself and I go, boy, if I didn't know any better, I would absolutely think I might be somewhere on, let's say, the DSM.
Okay.
And at the very least, score highly in some kind of neurodivergence.
Okay.
But when I explain that to myself and I feel it out, I'm like, no, everything makes perfect sense to me. It just feels different than the world. And so there were a couple of quotes that I saw that made me think of that. And that's how I simplified my question. It's just, that's a sane reaction to an insane world.
Okay.
And so I just was curious for your perspective on that, on navigating that and just moving forward with that. Yeah.
So really the question is like this. Would the world say that there is a pathology at play? And if so, would that make any practical difference in your day-to-day life? I guess that's the question. So I generally think people have good hunches, generally. So if you were to take a guess, if you were just to hazard a guess, in the worst case scenario, what would they say about you? They'd say, Michael, we got your diagnosis. You have ADHD and you are somewhere on the spectrum. Not the
in the very that's what I would say.
Yeah.
And then I think in the very worst case, it's because emotional management itself is a spectrum, and if you are really down, then that presents as certain other things. Then it could be, hey, this appears to be some kind of mania. This is some sort of manic episode or something. And my vices are, I don't drink, I don't smoke. So I noticed myself, I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I have a shopping vice. I think I'm stress shopping. I think I'm stress reaching out to people. But, I live near 5 towns. I'm here in the city. And I'm also like, no, you know what? You might just be a little lonely because of the way that you have chosen to live. So I have less sedation available, or I have given myself the option of less sedation.
Right. And there are a lot of plausible explanations why your behavior would be the way that it is based on your situation. So, but here's really the question. And I think I'm saying this knowing full well that people are listening, and a lot of them are listening thinking like, hey, I relate to this guy. Like, this could be me. I told somebody recently that, so this is somebody who's been watching me on YouTube for 4 or 5 years. So I told him, 4 or 5 years ago, even today, if you search for rabbis on YouTube, I'm not on the first page. But how much more so 4 or 5 years ago, you would not find me in the top of your YouTube search. So I told this guy, if you were looking for rabbis and you ended up finding me and I kept coming up in your feed, the algorithm isn't stupid. That's a high indication of, you may want, if you're interested, you may want to get a diagnosis. You may find out you are neurodivergent. I said it as a joke, but I said it, every truth has a little joke. So I'm just saying there's a lot of people listening right now. The algorithm has summoned all of the sensitive people who are struggling with the falseness of this world, the sensitive souls who are feeling things more deeply and who are seeking truth and who have those intense special interests, like you mentioned. And, the algorithm summoned all those people, and a lot of them are here and they're watching, and they're like, what Michael was saying, I totally relate to that. I totally relate to that. I totally relate to that. So my answer is, let's just assume that everything that you are assuming could be true is true. So you get up tomorrow, how does that make life different?
You know, it doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. It's just further confirmation that I need to go and find my people. And I guess a more, now that we talk about it, and thank you, that's a very helpful and reassuring perspective, Rabbi. But maybe a different way of framing this question would be, you know, how does one live a godly life in a world that seems in all manner of ways to have forgotten God?
Yeah, but that's the calling of every soul in a body, because if the soul were meant to be godly in a godly place, God would have kept it in heaven. But the soul is sent down here to earth to be holy in a place that is not holy. So some people respond to that with horror and revulsion, and they recoil from things of this world, and they escape from the world. Various forms of asceticism and self-numbing and distraction. And other people go the opposite way, and they say, if you can't beat them, join them. And they throw themselves into hedonism and indulgence. But the proper path, and you know full well the proper path, it's to be present here in the embodiment and to make use of the opportunities that you have in space and time to do something selfless, to do something kind, to do a favor for another person, to say a prayer. And the fact that you're doing this in your embodiment in a world that hides the creator from the creation, that's what gives those acts value. Those acts don't have value in heaven where the soul comes from. They have value down here. So instead of bemoaning the state of the world, we need to embrace that the world and its challenges were engineered specifically to be engaged with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, like with all things, but there's so many possibilities in that, let's not call it a problem, but in that, yeah, well, let's just say, for lack of a better term in this context, in that problem. Yeah. There's no, God makes no mistakes.
Right.
It's just figuring out, it's the age-old question. It's just figuring out
so like the previous caller,
make the most of that.
Like the previous caller. Okay, so why did I decide that she should be involved in healthcare advocacy? You know why. For one reason. There was one reason why I felt that was something she should be involved in. Why did I think that's something she should be involved in?
It's what she's called to. It's what,
how did I know
she's
that?
closest to.
Am I a prophet? Evidence. How did I know it? How do I know?
You got clear on it's just the reality. Asking her what's going on and what's real in her life.
Okay, exactly. So very good. How do I know that that's what she should be doing? Because that's what she's been doing. So reality is a great indicator of, reality and truth are not always exactly the same thing, but reality can often be a good indicator of truth. So the fact that she had that experience points at least a little bit in the direction that experience has to be used for something. So, to wit, when you look at your life and you look at the circumstances that you're in, like you said, God makes no mistakes. Yeah, the way that you're going to show up in your embodiment and be of service is going to be idiosyncratic and peculiar to you because it's going to make use of the unique circumstances that you're in. So it's not going to be identical to somebody else or to anybody else.
Yeah. And when I look at the fruit that I've had since this, I would say momentum has kicked off and started gaining in intensity. It's like, no, the results for others are so improved. In my work, everything has gotten much deper and much more impactful in quantity and quality.
And let that be one of your main guides in life when you're trying to evaluate whether or not you're living right or not. look at the benefit that you are providing others. It's not the only metric, but it's a big one, and maybe even the most important one. So when you're trying to figure out, how am I living right now? Am I living well? Am I not living well? And you look at, it seems to be benefiting a lot of people. I'm not saying the only metric, but it's a very strong indication that I'm not going to say you're on the exact right path, but you're not too far from it.
Yeah. The path is only illuminated as you walk it, is something
Correct.
somebody said to me a long time ago, and I think about that every day.
Yeah.
Like, nope, I'm creating order out of chaos. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
Getting closer.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of trust. I've really enjoyed your series on gate of trust. And it's like, no, if you just have full trust, then yeah, you don't know. And when it becomes clear, it's just you release and you have more fun.
Correct.
And you can do more good.
Correct. And that's the ultimate, where you said you can have more fun. Like when you realize even the scary stuff, it's all under his control. Like, yeah, it's not like everything that's going to happen in your life will always be pleasant, but even the stuff that's unpleasant, he engineered it. He knows what he's doing. Just show up for it and do what you can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the unpleasant shows up the moment that you think that you've got it all figured out. There comes another test.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like the video game, you clear one board and then you go to the next board.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rabbi, I feel a lot better. Thank you.
That's so good. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to go to the next caller on the line. Shira. Hello, Shira.
Hello?
Hey there. You're on the air.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my question is, I know Rabbi Taub speaks often on neurodiversity. I guess that's a popular topic tonight. And
like I told
Rabbi
you,
Taub in general.
It's
and
the algorithm.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that anymore. So far, my algorithm keeps bringing this up again and again, and it's coming up in with parenting and with my kids and in myself. But obviously, this has to be tied to my personal journey as well. And maybe this should just become a support group helpline for this type of journey. But essentially, as someone who was discovered ADHD as an adult and currently raising a kid with a newish diagnosis within the autism spectrum. I'm very curious to know, I know Rabbi Taub speaks often about neurodiversity from a spiritual standpoint and appreciating, that certain neshamos, have a certain, like maybe connection to Hashem and to MS. I certainly see that with my daughter in a very, very, thank God, very obvious.
How old is she?
Obvious way.
How old is your daughter?
She's 6.
She's 6. Okay.
She's 6, but she's been talking. She's been asking really complicated existential questions for years.
And she's been diagnosed as on the spectrum?
Yeah. Yeah, she has. But what's interesting and what I wanted to ask her by Taub specifically was regarding this particular profile, understanding how to best channel her strength, help her channel her strength as her mother, because what is so particular about this profile, I'm not sure if Rabbi Taub is familiar with it, is that it's exactly what it sounds like. The PDA is pervasive drive for autonomy, or sometimes it's understood as pathological demand avoidance. Both of those have all the challenges implied in their in their wording as the parent, and sort of flipped everything that I thought I knew about parenting on its head, and since everything I knew about parenting, I acquired through a mess. Everything I thought I knew, I acquired through, just years of healing and overcoming and working against, the odds of dysfunction. I think this is sort of like a new curveball, and a new lens. And I just would love to hear Rabbi Taub's understanding and just words of, I need some clarity here. I need direction here. And I need it like really specifically, because I understand the specialness and the uniqueness of the autism, just the general autism diagnosis and how that can come out. And I've seen it, like I said. But with this particular profile, it's like, it's a level of letting go that I find myself tripping up over a lot more, because the pathways to success are sometimes so unconventional.
Yep.
And sometimes surprising. Like if you think you know anything, this is like my steepest learning curve, and I've been through it, in other areas. But this by far is just every morning. It's like waking up almost. I wouldn't say waking up to a new kid, because that's a little strong. But waking up to a set of challenges that aren't predictable based on anything I've experienced the day or the week before, whether it's school avoidance, or it's like we're doing so great and super regulated, and all of a sudden, there's this, this massive dysregulation period that, for the life of me, I can't pinpoint the source of, even though I was previously, kind of on the money, so to speak.
Right.
And it's always just been important to me, I think, as a mother, to keep my finger on the pulse. And here I am being like, Hashem, I feel like, I take Rabbi Taub's parenting courses, and I do like everything I think I'm supposed to do. And I'm working so hard to regulate myself and be there for my kids and just be present and all of that. And it's like, what? Like, what do I do with this? Like, what is this? What is it? Is it just is like my whole purpose just like radical acceptance? Like, and I don't even know if I like that word, because it sounds very new agey. Yeah. It sounds like how do you transmit values to someone who has like an inherent opposition to any sort of external demands? Yeah. Like, isn't that what does that make any sense? That was a long ramble, but
no, it makes perfect sense.
I hope that was at least. Oh, thank you. I'm going to cry just from having that validated.
Makes perfect sense. Go ahead and cry. It's cathartic to cry. You 100% made sense. Made complete sense.
Okay.
So I'm
not looking for tips and tricks. Like, I do the hard work.
You gave like, a lot of answers. You basically gave a lot of answers.
The radical acceptance, new agey stuff.
Yeah, you know that. I know you don't like the words, but you already know that that's the answer.
Why?
Give it another name. I know you're tripping up on the name. Give it another name.
No, I'm tripping up over the PDA names.
Okay, well,
too hard.
We're not going to use that either. We don't have to use these names. These names.
But it's not.
Go ahead.
It's not. I know, I know deep down this is not resistance is not to truth. If anything, when we were having an issue today, school related, my husband, who's on the spectrum himself and just tells it like it is like, the problem for everyone is that she's a human lie detector.
Right.
She is. She's a human lie detector test. You cannot, there's nothing you can do to get anything past her, correct, even if it's your subconscious that's trying to get something past her. Right. So I am forced into like the level of self-work where every single thing that comes out of my mouth, whether it's about mitzvahs, Yiddishkeit, the weather, it doesn't matter. I have to believe, it has to be something I believe to be true wholeheartedly.
That's right.
And like, not even like chatzi, like not even mostly. It can't even be that like if I'm having an off day with my bitachon, like my kid is like, I'm not going to school.
Yep.
Like it's crazy. It literally is that. And I'm like, I have to live in a hole because I feel like, the things that people complain about their teenagers, like, oh, my teenagers like that. I'm like,
okay.
You wouldn't, if you could be a bird's eye in my house with my 6-year-old, like you probably appreciate your crazy teenagers right now, because at least you don't have a human lie detector all the time. And like when she was like 3, I told her a story and she was like, I'm not kidding. She said this. She goes, oh no, it wasn't that story. I was on the phone with somebody. Oh, this is weird. From a healthcare company. That's what we were, that other caller. Yeah. Before I hijacked your live call. But I was talking to someone from a healthcare company and I was getting stressed out on the call, on the Bluetooth in the car. And I guess you could feel the stress in my voice. I didn't say anything, I don't think so mean to the lady. I just was like, I need to get whatever it was. Like, I really need this to happen or something. I hang up the phone and she was 3 or 4 and she goes, Mommy, I thought she was going to ask for a snack. She goes, do you always listen to your Yetzer Tov? And it's never stopped. Like that's just sort of how it is all the time. So when I told my brother the story, he's like, that sounds, he's like, you have abuse. Like you're living with abuse. But yeah, that's what's like, it's living on the witness stand. The problem is that I'm on the witness stand. I want to help her to do her best, but I guess that just really just means doing my best. I don't know if I answered my own question, but
okay.
I don't know.
So let me just share one insight with you, which perhaps will be helpful.
Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier, how do you transmit values to somebody who basically doesn't care about any external expectations, external pressure, external norms? And my answer to you
is allergic to.
Yeah. My answer to you is, I want you said you had to unlearn so much. You had to let go of so many axioms. Okay. I need you to destroy another axiom.
Which one?
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. And it probably is based on the way you were educated. But it's actually, well, it's the way most of us were educated. And it's actually based on a lie. And this little truth-telling girl is forcing you to reject this lie. That lie is that obedience has anything to do with values. It's actually the opposite. The person who has values does not have to be obedient. They value the behavior because of the behavior having intrinsic worth.
Yes.
The obedient person never learns to value the behavior. They just do it because that's what's expected of them. And they care enough about not being rejected or facing social sanctions. So they do, they go along to get along, basically. So this girl actually, unlike the way most children are educated, actually can learn values. She actually can learn values. In fact, the only way she will do something is if she learns what the value is. That's the only way she'll
100%.
do it. That's right.
100%.
So you're asking, how will she learn values? Very simple. By teaching her these values. And not only will she learn them, but part of her her special quality of gravitating toward truth. You didn't mention this, but I would assume, I would bet good money on it also overlapping with a strong, and I would say even intense sense of justice.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And calling
highly
out
conscientious,
injustice.
of
Yes.
course.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Since he could talk.
Right.
Yeah. And she's
So-
always right, which is a problem because I have to explain the world to her. The world does not, this is not like this, like we're the theme of like, this is not the world. This is not the way the world should work more along the lines of her world.
She's telling you the way the world should work, and you're telling her
she's
the
right.
way, and
She's
she's
right.
right. And you're telling her the way the world
Yeah.
does work.
Yes.
So what I'm telling
And
you
how
is
do you
this.
how do you really
Yeah.
explain that in an emotionally
You
healthy,
don't. You
sound
don't. You
way?
don't. You don't. You don't. You are beating your head against the wall. You're exhausting yourself. You're frustrating yourself. You're speaking Chinese to her. She can't understand it. It doesn't make her understand it more. It actually forces her to reject it more. Stop it. Every time you try to give her that reality check about what the world is really like, you are actually forcing her to become even more zealous in her idealism.
What does that mean? I'm missing
is
something.
sometimes you tell somebody, hey kid, you got great ideals, but that's pie in the sky. In the real world, here's how you got to get along with people. Here are the lies that we tell each other in order to be accepted. And a regular person says, no problem, I'll sign on to that social contract. She's not going to sign on to that. And not only will she not sign on to it, but she will feel the truth is under attack. And in response to that attack on the truth, she will become even more vigilant and even more exaggerated in her zealousness for truth and justice and all of these idealistic principles. So every time you try to tone her down and give her a dose of, I don't want to call it cynicism, but that essentially is what it is. Not only is it not accomplishing anything, it is counterproductive because it forces her to go on attack or counterattack in the name of her ideals. So I'm going to suggest to you to never, ever, 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 ever tell her the harsh truth about reality.
What is that? I know this is going to sound so ridiculous,
Things
but
like,
can I have an example?
well, the hypocrisy that is inherent in most institutions, including schools, especially religious schools. So when you
I don't tell
her
her that stuff.
if you tell her that this is just the way that it is, she's going to actually attack it more.
Okay, so what is the alternative? What is the
You have
alternative?
to speak her language.
Maybe I'm just
You have to speak her language. You have to speak her language.
Help! Is there? What does that look like? I mean, I feel like sometimes I do when I'm not triggered.
Right.
You know.
Correct.
But I don't remember it. It's not intellectual. It's like it's visceral. And when I'm triggered, I can't do it. I don't even in our conversation right now. I don't even remember what I do when I'm doing it right.
So, a lot of your inability to communicate with her the way she needs to be communicated with is because you are being triggered, because you're still trying to hold everything together. You're still trying to manage. Yeah, you're still trying to manage to get through the system without getting tossed out, without it breaking you or you breaking it. And you're going to have to let go of that, because that's what's causing you stress. Every time she does something which is a threat to your ability to get through the system without it breaking you or you breaking it, you get triggered, and then you lose your ability to communicate with her in the way she needs to be communicated with. So you have to let go. I won't use the word radical acceptance, but you have to let go and you have to accept that raising this child is going to require all types of creative solutions that are not are not the norm, and you're going to have to learn how to accept being a weirdo, being an outcast, being a pariah. I don't mean to do that as a badge of honor. There are people like that who lean into it and they make that their personality. And I'm not saying to do that. What I'm saying is you're not trying to incur social rejection. You're not trying to shock people. You're not trying to be different. You're just trying to take care of your kid. And if people disapprove, let them disapprove.
Yeah, but then that still doesn't answer the question about...
You're not going to get her to school every day.
Okay.
You're not going to get her to follow all the rules.
Right.
There are going to be costs. There are going to be opportunity costs.
Okay.
You are not going to be able to avail yourself of every opportunity that is offered to the people who are willing to squash themselves into the system. You can't have both. It's not going to happen. Now,
so how do you know? Yeah. Okay.
My guide to you would be, if you do anything where you feel that you're killing your daughter's spirit, there's no justification. There's no justification.
Right.
You have to nurture her. Anyways, Hashem doesn't make mistakes. He knows who he gave to each soul as a parent for this embodiment. And there are a lot of lessons for you to learn from parenting this unique girl. She'll teach you truth and idealism and purity of heart. All these wonderful things that this world seems to have very little regard for, but which really are things of enduring value. Okay, we have another caller, so I want to move on, but thank you for the call, and radical acceptance, you'll come up with another term for it and let me know. Come up with a more acceptable term.
Thank you.
Let me know what it is.
Thank you so much.
So I lost
Thank you so much.
my pleasure. I lost the Google Doc. I had who's our next caller? Ahuva. Okay, Ahuva. Is this our last caller? Okay, our last caller of the evening. Ahuva is on the line.
Hi.
Hey there.
Okay, my initial question actually had nothing to do with neurodivergency, but after hearing the past two calls, I just feel compelled to just tell the previous caller that
Please.
I have raised 4 on the spectrum, and each one
you have some unique
presents
experience.
completely different.
Yeah.
Each one
Here's
presents
what I'm doing.
just because they're on the spectrum.
I don't want to take away from
But
whatever. Just before we go on, I don't want to take away from whatever you wanted to speak about. So why don't you go ahead and give a few minutes of personal experience to our previous caller, and then we'll go to what you wanted to talk about before. But go ahead. I want you to address.
So to the previous caller, I want to say, in terms of PDA, because living with what the world has termed as PDA is the most nerve-wracking experience for any parent. But avoidance, consider anxiety, both the child's anxiety, because every single human being on the planet, whether they're neurodivergent or not, avoids doing things that they think they will fail at. Who runs to do something they don't think they can do? Nobody. So forget avoidance, forget radical acceptance, and think anxiety. Is this task inducing anxiety because she has fear of failing? Is she not understanding what's needed to be done here? Does it need to be broken down, simplified? Avoidance equals anxiety, both yours, the parent, and the child, because the child feeds off the parent, and the parent feeds off the child, and is. And with that being said, I'll say that these children are really, when we learn how to understand them and deal with it, then you see their incredible gifts, and they, in my opinion, have taught me how to raise myself. They were put in my life to get me to raise my own self. And I say, my kids will learn how to raise themselves when they have their kids. But it's extremely, I understand all the feelings, but if you want to reach out to me, you could reach out. Could she contact you to get my number? And I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, well, you have my email, so maybe send me your phone number in the email, and I'll share it with her, and I'll email it to her. Okay, that's great. Yeah. That's really awesome. Okay, so what did you want to speak to me about before?
Yes, so I just want to thank you so much for all your amazing content that you put out for everyone, and almost daily your Instagram posts resonate with me. I'm going to very loosely paraphrase one of them because I know it's not exactly what you said, and I understand that even changing one word could change the nuance, so please correct me if I'm not saying it accurately, but it was something along the lines of, how does one know when it's time to leave a marriage? And your answer was, when it is bringing a person spiritually down and causing someone more spiritual harm than help, that would signify it's time to leave the marriage. Did I say that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Okay, so my question is twofold. How would one know if it is indeed the marriage? How does one determine if it's actually the marriage that is causing them to have a spiritual downcline, or if it is their own wrong interpretations and reactions to what is occurring within the marriage, that their own midos and reactions are causing their spiritual downcline? And before we even get to that, is it even possible that a marriage can actually truly cause someone a spiritual decline?
Yeah, well, let me maybe explain a little bit more what I meant in that clip. So I think the question, the way those clips are made is that somebody asks me a bunch of questions. A lot of the questions are questions that are sent in by people who follow us on Instagram or who are subscribers on YouTube. So I answer a bunch of questions, and they basically encourage me to answer as quickly as possible so that we can make these short reels. But I'm going to slow down and tell you not a super long answer, but longer than the 90-second clip. They asked me a question. Like, I think the question they asked me was, what do most failed marriages have in common? And as is often my way, I rejected the premise of the question, or I tweaked the premise of the question. I said, well, you have to define what's a failed marriage, because I don't think a failed marriage means what the world defines it as. Most people say a failed marriage is a marriage that ends in divorce, and a successful marriage is a marriage where they stay married. Well, I don't. Is that the same clip? Does this sound familiar?
Yes, exactly, 100%.
Right. So I said a successful marriage is a marriage that accomplishes something. Now, typically, the most important thing a marriage accomplishes is building a home for children that gives them a foundation to raise the next generation. But there are many things that a marriage accomplishes. But the point is, there has to be something productive. You don't get married. Okay, it pains me to even have to say this, but the truth is we are constantly bombarded with brainwashing. So I'm going to have to say these things. We don't get married for companionship. We don't get married for love. We don't get married for romance. We don't get married for fulfillment. We don't get married for, I don't know, whatever it is that the people who are selling you shampoo are trying to convince you that marriage is about. You get married because it is one of the most important things that an embodied soul can do in order to accomplish its purpose here on earth. So, the main question to ask is not, am I enjoying this? Is it leading to fulfillment? Am I experiencing love and connection and intimacy? Now, pause. Sometimes what a marriage can accomplish, in some marriages, not all, and I wouldn't even say the majority, but in some marriages, the intimate connection that the husband and wife experience with each other is so spiritual that is one of the things that the marriage is accomplishing for some marriages. I don't think the majority of marriages, but some marriages, yes, that the level of connection they have is truly so altruistic that it is a spiritual connection. And it is therefore making the world a holier place when that spiritual connection happens in the physical embodiment, and particularly in the act of marital physical union, where it is so physicalized, and you take something that's so spiritual and so lofty and making it so down to earth. That's an incredible thing that some marriages accomplish. But other marriages accomplish other things. Not every marriage has to accomplish all things that marriages accomplish. Not every marriage accomplishes the same things, but every marriage has to accomplish something. When a marriage ceases to accomplish anything, that's when the marriage ceases to have value. Okay? So it's not when you get tired of it, you get sick of it, when you don't like the other person anymore. That's silly. It's when this is no longer allowing me, or I shouldn't say allowing me, this is no longer helping me to accomplish my purpose here on earth. Now, I'm going to say something else, and I don't know how people are going to take this, but some people come to the world, well, everyone comes to the world for something called nisyonos. Nisyonos means tests, trials, tribulations, challenges, overcoming obstacles, hardships, difficulties. Okay? Every soul comes for that kind of test or series of tests. Some souls come to the world for a lot of tests, intense tests. Some souls come to the world and they really get a run for their money. And that's what they come to the world for. Okay? And because of that, some souls come to the world to have exceptionally challenging marital situations. Okay? And I wouldn't tell anybody who's in that situation, oh, what a pity you don't have a good marriage. Well, first of all, it's not polite to say that, but even if they wanted me to, even if they give me permission to comment on their intimate life, I wouldn't even, not only I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't think it. I wouldn't think it, because the truth is, some people, the way they are accomplishing something in this embodiment is that they are going through a challenging marriage and retaining their faith, retaining their good, cheerful disposition toward life, retaining their will to be productive, and that the challenge not only is not a deterrent to their being a productive person, but actually in the way that only challenges can do, sort of the crushing of the olive that brings out the oil, that the challenging marriage actually is eliciting deeper, hidden, latent potentials, bringing out a person's hidden abilities. So even as someone who would say, my marriage is awful, but I got to tell you, from a spiritual perspective, it's helping me to accomplish something in this world as a soul and a body. I'm learning faith. I'm learning patience. I'm learning compassion. Then I would say you're accomplishing. You're accomplishing. Like, I couldn't tell somebody you're not allowed to walk away, but I would, by the same token, I wouldn't tell them that they have to leave because they're unhappy. I would say, well, but you're accomplishing. There's something happening here. Maybe it's not fun, but it's productive. Okay. So, in contradistinction,
right,
if someone were to tell me,
mean?
if somebody were to tell me, follow me. If someone were to tell me, I'm in a situation, it's not personally fulfilling, that's for sure not. Okay, but not only that, but it's not making me a better person. It's not making me have more faith. It's not forcing me to connect in a deeper way to Hashem. It's not making me more compassionate to others. It's not awakening in me greater empathy and an ability to relate to others who are also challenged. It's not doing anything like that for me. I'm just kind of sitting here being annoyed and hating my life. I'd say, well then, that's an issue. So,
but is it that person's problem to utilize the situation they're in to learn to better themselves within the situation, or to learn to say,
well, that's a second question.
Okay.
Now you're asking a second question. But let's just first make sure we have the first question straight. The first question was...
Well, I don't know what non-productive means, because...
Well, I said it. But I said it already. And now, when now that you tell me you don't know what it means, I'm going to ask you to either say back to me what I said, or I'm going to ask you to give me your own definition. Either one. You can tell me back what I said non-productive means, or you can offer me your own definition of what non-productive means.
I don't know if there is non-productive, because if that's what occurred, that's what Hashem wanted. And the only reason why I say that is because I grew up in a non-productive environment. But clearly God wanted me to grow up in that environment.
Hold the phone. Now we got to it. Okay. Tell me about the non-productive environment that you grew up in. I think this is the key to it all.
My father was emotionally abusive to all of us, physically abusive to some of us. My mother was very weak and allowed it to occur, and was a martyr, and basically because of that taught us that loving someone equals martyring yourself. Nothing productive about it. I didn't know that I was like that. I had an neshama that had value until I went through enough hardships on my own and started learning on my own, seeking clarity. I grew up in an environment that taught me the opposite. It was not productive to Yiddishkeit, but clearly it was productive for what my soul needed to experience and what I need to experience now, or I wouldn't have been born into that environment. So even though it's non-productive by your definition, it was productive because it produced 8 dysfunctional children that these 8 children needed to be produced in that environment for whatever our souls need, right?
I'm confused here. Do we disagree or do we agree on the definition of a productive situation?
I would agree, except for the fact that by your definition of a non-productive situation, I lived in that, and it produced 8 kids with severe dysfunction, but clearly that was God's intention. So then it actually was productive, even though by your it looked like your definition of non-productive.
I'm confused about whether or not you know what my definition of a productive situation is. So I just want to hear it from you. What am I saying would be productive or non-productive?
That productive means that even if somebody is in a hard situation,
Right.
they are working on themselves. Either they turn more to Hashem for their strength and
Yes.
daven more and grow in their emunah and bitachon and good midos.
Yes.
And non-productive would be somebody who's very angry, resentful.
Yes.
Like I know in my marriage, I was, before I got married, I was a very loving, nurturing person. And now I am not, because I have to
Right.
be the man and the woman. I have to father the
Right.
mother. I'm
Right.
my kids have no nurturing mother. It's non-productive by your definition. It's everything opposite of what
Right. Got
it
it.
should be.
Got it.
But
Okay.
my kids grew up in that environment. Have to that was productive because that's what Hashem wanted, because that's what occurred.
Stop. Just stop. Stop. Nobody here listening is going to be able to keep up with this if we don't stop a second. Please stop. Okay. Take the tape out of the tape player. Just stop. Okay. I want to explain something, not to you, because I think you probably already understand this, but to everyone who's listening. Hashem is infinite. Infinite is big. It's really big. It's not just big. It's so big that multiple things can converge perfectly at once for different reasons. And yet, even while one situation is occurring that's affecting multiple people, it can have exactly the right effect on each different party that it needs to have. In other words, you can be raising your kids in a situation that is, I don't want to say you, okay, because I don't want to personalize it right now. Let's say there's a woman who's raising her children in a dysfunctional situation. It may come to pass that she will decide that the situation is no longer productive for her. And at the very same time, it was productive for her children. It's not a contradiction. It's not a contradiction.
Even if it produced dysfunction?
You have to look at the full story. Sometimes the conflict is the setup for the resolution. Sometimes the problem is the setup for the solution. So if you take a snapshot, you'll say, well, this person has a messed up life. But if you play the whole film, then you'll see, well, they went through adversity, and commensurate to their challenges, they gained insight that other people don't gain because they don't go through those same challenges.
But is the goal insight, or is the goal to be able to actualize that insight into serving Hashem better?
Right. Very, very well stated. Right. The insight by itself that's not acted upon lacks value. So, correct. Thank you for adding that. It's not just the insight, it's being able to act on it. Okay, but let's, okay. So let's go back, okay, because I put you on pause while I explained something that was sort of a side point, because you brought up the way your children are being affected. I knew that as an educator, I strongly suspected that was going to distract a lot of people and they were going to get into a loop. And I wanted to sort of get us out of that loop. Let's go back to now I'll put the tape back in the tape player. Okay. So you're in a situation now that you're saying is not leading you to what you consider to be ideal character attributes, but rather it's instilling in you feelings of resentment. Is that what you were saying?
If only it was that. It is every possible negative Mita you could imagine. But that's my problem. I can't blame a situation or someone else, right?
Let's just talk in theory over here. Let's say that you were told you have one more year to be in this situation. And at the end of the year, you're being forced to leave the situation. But you will be evaluated based on the insights that you gain, the lessons that you learn. What experiences or internal shifts would you need to have over the next year to be able to leave the situation and say, it made me a better person?
I don't know. Because I've been living like that for at least 6 years, just telling myself it's just till, the kids are older, just till this happens with one kid, that kid.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about how much longer can you survive. I'm not talking about kicking the can down the road. I'm doing a little thought experiment here where I'm pretending that you have a year left to study for the exam. You're going to be given an exam a year from now. And the exam is, what did you learn from this challenging situation? In what ways did it make you a better person?
It didn't. It destroyed me. That's the problem.
Not today. I'm talking a year from now. This is a theoretical part of your life that you haven't lived yet. So you have a year for this situation to make you a better person.
If I knew how to utilize it to make myself better, I wouldn't be on this call. I wouldn't have a problem. I don't know.
This is just a thought experiment. This is just a thought experiment. There's no pressure here. You have a year to make yourself a better person from this experience, to glean from it all of the life lessons that you can. So I'm just curious, in this pretend hypothetical situation, what might you come away from this situation with in a year from now?
I know what I would like to be, but I don't.
We're just pretending here.
Believe that I can do it.
Okay. You can say I want to learn how to fly. This is pretend.
The happy mother.
Yeah,
but in the perfect world,
it can't be a non sequitur.
I would be the mother that I always wanted.
This can't be. It can't be.
Mother.
Stop a second. It can't be a non sequitur. It has to be a cause and effect. You can't just say magically at the end of the year I'm going to become a perfect mother. That doesn't make sense. Then why would you have to be in the situation that you're in? There's no causal relationship. I need you to make a if-then statement. If I will be in this dysfunctional, frustrating, heartbreaking, dysfunctional situation, then I will be able to learn such and such lessons. In other words, don't tell me that magically at the end of the year you're going to become the perfect mother. I need to understand how it's a cause and effect, how the situation actually creates an opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? You do. Okay, so say it to me in a way that is particular to the situation. Don't say it as a non sequitur where I'm going to become a perfect mother at the end of the year. How? Based on what? How is being in the dysfunctional situation you're in conducive to that? How would it lead to that? How would the particular challenges you're facing set you up for that breakthrough? So that's what I need you to tell me.
Not allowing others' actions to affect me.
Okay, let's just stop there for a second because I want to focus. One life lesson, not allowing others' actions to affect me. So if you could come away a year from now and say, you know what? I gained a tremendous insight. I gained emotional autonomy. I'm no longer affected by other people's actions. So that would be a great thing to gain, and it would be an obvious cause and effect. It would be like, oh, I get it. Like, you were in a situation where you had to learn that skill, and therefore you learned it. So, are you following me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you asked me a question a while ago, which was, how do I know if I'm the problem or if the situation is the problem? If the situation is the problem, I should leave the situation. If I'm the problem, I should fix myself. So here's what I'm saying. Spend a year fixing yourself. Don't make any decisions right now. You know one life lesson that you can learn while you're in this situation. Okay, so see if it's possible to learn that life lesson in the next year. It's a win-win proposition. Because either way, at the end of the year, either you will not have gained that insight and you'll realize there's nothing more to be gained here, and then you'll have clarity, or you'll have gained that insight and that ability, and then you'll have the option to remain in this situation because, after all, you've brought yourself to this place where you're unaffected. And then you have the option. Then you get to choose.
But if I fail,
yeah, there's no real failure.
If I'm not able, well,
if it doesn't happen,
been there, done that. Been there, done that. It works. Well, it works, but the dynamics is the more I don't absorb the other person's issues, the stronger they create issues until they can get a response. It's like a toddler who's going to keep tantruming until they get a response, but they do other things in other ways. But it's a similar thing. So I could do it to a certain extent, but eventually it will affect me. So that's what I mean by failing. So I can do it, but not completely. And this has been something that I've been working on for, I want to say, at least 3 years now.
Okay. Okay. And
but it doesn't mean, but it still means that I need more work on me, not necessarily that the.
I'll repeat what I said before.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll repeat what I said before. That at the end of the year, if you end up gaining, if at the end of the year you end up gaining whatever it is, the lesson, the insight, and you become this super person who's able to tolerate all types of dysfunction and it doesn't bother you, it doesn't touch you, it doesn't rattle your cage in any way, shape, or form, then you have the option to stay, or you have the option to say, you know what? I'm above it. It doesn't bother me anymore. But just because I can tolerate it doesn't mean that I will. So you have all the options open to you. But right now, it seems like you sat in a really difficult class and you didn't really learn what you needed to learn to get an A on the test. So you went through so much of it already. Why don't you just finish it off and learn what you need to learn from it? Unless you're telling me you don't want to, in which case I'm not forcing you to stay. I mean, I haven't.
No.
I'm not telling you.
No,
what to
I'm
do.
not. I'm not saying that. I want to know what Hashem put me in a situation for a reason. But what that reason is.
So what I'm saying, well, we know one possible reason, that you feel that perhaps it would be a lesson to gain to learn to be emotionally autonomous. That means to be able to choose joy and purpose and focus and clarity even when other people around you are being crazy. And if you can gain that, that has a lot of applications beyond marriage. It has applications in almost every aspect of life.
Right. And on the other hand, my brain tells me, Yeah, go ahead.
On the other end, your brain tells you what? You're gonna sit around and there's gonna be no difference, and you're gonna just waste more time and become more jaded and more resentful.
But more than that, I could argue that Hashem put me in a situation for me to say that I am a person of value and don't deserve to be treated like this, and
You told me you already learned that.
To care for my soul.
You told me that you already learned that.
And so like you said before, intellectually, but I didn't take the steps to actually care for myself by leaving.
So are you telling me that the same thing? So are you telling me that the same lesson that your father taught you, which was that you do not have value, that you internalized that, you only learned that it was wrong intellectually, but you never really unlearned it in any meaningful way, and that you still don't know?
Clearly, that's why I married someone because that's why I married someone with similar issues as my father. Clearly, that's correct. It is extremely hardwired, even though I know it, I'll tell it to my kids, but it doesn't mean I truly feel it enough to act differently, because it is hardwired into my brain from birth.
So what do you want to do?
I want to do what Hashem wants me to do. Like in one of your talks, I heard you say that a person could always be satisfied within themselves, knowing that Hashem gave you everything you need. Well, this is what Hashem decided I needed, but why? Did Hashem give it to me so that I could? That is so untenable that it's going to force me to actually act on the fact that I don't deserve this, and be able to force me to take the action to actually care about myself and do something? Or am I supposed to perfect myself within this? I don't know why Hashem gave it to me. I know Hashem gave it to me, but for what?
Let me try to make it simple. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know what you're supposed to do. Did I say that already? I'm going to say it again. I don't know what you're supposed to do. But I do know that for the present, by present, I mean this moment, there has to be something productive. So either you're going to learn emotional autonomy and how to rise above other people affecting you, or you're going to learn to value yourself and not tolerate mistreatment, or maybe some other lesson. But there has to be some lesson that you're learning right now. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know if you're supposed to stay or go. I can't tell you that. But I do know that if you're here right now, you're in the situation right now, I'm not talking about tomorrow, I'm talking about now, then there has to be something you're learning from it. And I think you have some ideas already of lessons that you need to internalize. So instead of asking yourself, does Hashem want me to stay or does Hashem want me to go? Which I don't know the answer to. And you clearly don't know the answer to yet. And you may at some point gain clarity, but right now you clearly don't have clarity. So then don't ask that question.
I feel like I do, but I doubt myself.
Oh, then go ahead. By all means, if you have clarity. What does Hashem want you to do?
No, I doubt myself. I feel
so first
like
tell me what you know and then tell me the doubt. First tell me what you know and then tell me the doubt. Let's do step one and then step two. You said, I know and then I doubt myself. So tell me what you know and then tell me how it's not true. Step one, what do you know?
I know that I and my kids and nobody, and even my husband, doesn't deserve to live the way that we are living. That this is we're living in an untenable environment for any human being, and no one deserves to live like this. That I know. I know that I'm scared of misinterpreting what Hashem wants from me, because if I make the wrong choice,
Stop. Are you telling me what you know, or did you sneakily transition into your doubt? Because I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, fine. So I know that nobody
I want you to
deserves
tell me.
love
Can you hear me? By the way, I'm screaming so that you can hear me. Do you hear me when I'm speaking?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, so I need you to listen to me. I need you to listen to me. I need you to listen to me. I want you to stay on one track. Tell me what you know, and after you're finished telling me what you know, then we could explain how it's all wrong and it doesn't make sense and you don't know what you're talking about. But first, just tell me what you know. And then when you're done, tell me you're done, and then we can undo it all.
Okay. The bottom line that I know is that Hashem wants me to learn to truly value my essence, not just say it, but feel it and do whatever required, whatever action is necessary in order to live with that knowledge and act upon it, that I have gifts that Hashem bestowed upon me that I'm supposed to use in this world for good and to serve Hashem and to value that and utilize it instead of quash it and live a non-functional, non-productive life. I know that.
Okay. That was beautiful. That made sense. You spoke with conviction. You spoke with clarity. And you said, I know that. Everything you're saying, I know that. Okay. Now stop. I'm going to give you an opportunity now to undo it. Go ahead. Take it all apart. Tell me how it's all wrong.
No, I know that, but the question is, how do I attain that? Did Hashem put me in this situation because I'm supposed to attain it, like within the situation?
So here's the
or
thing.
is a situation?
No, nobody knows. Nobody can tell you what you're supposed to do. But here's the thing. You have certain knowledge, and you have it actually very clearly. And I gave you an opportunity, by the way, to argue against yourself. You told me, I know, but then I doubt. I know, but then I doubt. And then I said, go ahead and tell me all the doubts. And you declined, actually. You know, you can go play back the YouTube replay. I asked you, go ahead and tell me how everything you just said was wrong. And you were like, no, actually, it wasn't wrong. I know it. I know what I was saying. So you don't even doubt it. You don't even doubt it. Do you understand that? Is that what I'm saying to you? Does it make sense to you?
I know that to be the truth. I don't doubt that.
Okay, so here's the thing.
How do I attain it?
How do you attain it? That's another question. That's another question. Nobody can tell you what to do. I can't tell you to get divorced. I'm not going to. I'm not going to tell you that. I don't know you. I never met you. I didn't speak to your husband. There's no way I could have an opinion on something like that. But what I do know, and I know it because you know it and told it to me really, really clearly, is that you don't deserve to be in a situation where you are mistreated. And you know that very, very clearly. Now, what are you going to do about that? I don't know. I don't know. But what I can advise you, and this is just my advice, and, you know, there are other people who also give advice, so I hope that you speak to other people and not just me. My advice to you is stick with what you know. Stick with this truth, which you have eloquently and clearly conveyed. And the more you focus on this truth, the more you focus on what you know to be true, the more you will eventually have clarity about your course of action. You don't have clarity about your course of action yet. You don't. You have clarity about You have a clarity about a certain truth. The more you focus on that truth, the more you will eventually have clarity about your course of action. The course of action will become apparent to you. And when the course of action is apparent to you, I don't even think it will be difficult. In other words, follow what I'm saying. You're stuck right now trying to figure out what to do, and you're not going to answer that question. Focus instead on what you know to be true. And the more you focus on what you know to be true, the more you will eventually come to clarity about your course of action. And when it happens, it won't even be difficult.
Right. I do agree, and I feel like I'm there. Just I don't trust myself because like something else you wrote once was that your father used that psychology of people trick them out. They live a fake life that they could trick themselves, and I get scared. Maybe I'm tricking myself. Maybe.
I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear. This is self-defeating. I don't want to hear about it. Yeah. No, I don't want to hear.
Okay.
You spoke very clearly, very eloquently. You know what you know. Let's not pretend that you don't know what you know. Let's not play that game. Why are you doubting yourself? Focus on the truth. Focus on what you know to be true. Ignore the doubts. And as I said, I'll say it again. You don't have a course of action clear to you right now. You don't. You just don't. But you know a certain truth, and that truth is that you have value, that you are worthy of respect, that you are precious, that you are beloved in the eyes of your Maker. These things you know without a shadow of a doubt. So focus on these things that you know until a course of action will present itself to you. Don't ask yourself what to do. Ask yourself what you know to be true and keep reminding yourself of what you know to be true until finally you know what to do about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense?
Okay.
You're getting
so
caught up.
when you just said that the last time, it sparked something in me that I just got this feeling like, yeah, the more I focus on that truth, the more I will live that truth and embrace the gifts that Hashem did give me and do what I'm supposed to do with it, regardless of where I am. I just got that knowledge and feeling and understanding.
This was the big sentence. Can you say it back to me again?
Say what back?
This sentence. This is the whole thing. This is your truth. Say it back to me. I don't want to forget this.
That I'm beloved to Hashem, that sentence?
Whatever it is, say it to me. It's your truth. What was the spark? You said you had a spark.
Yeah, that if I actually keep telling myself I'm inherently good, I'm inherently loved by Hashem, I have a purpose in this world, then I will live. The more I tell that to myself, the less other influences will negatively affect me and diminish me, and I'll be able to live from that truth, doing what I need to do, whether I'm in the situation of others' actions making me feel differently. I'll just keep telling myself the truth.
Okay.
But that's very hard. But I felt it for a second.
And I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be so super annoying. And everyone who's watching right now and who's like weirded out and they're like, this Taub guy, he's too weird for me. So I just want to explain to everybody. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not speaking to you right now. I'm speaking to the people watching. I'm not here to entertain you.
Okay.
I'm here to essentially, well, what am I here to do? Help the people who are calling me. Now, the manner in which I help them, it's a process. The process is really, it's not about making people feel good. It's about getting people to a place of clarity. This particular call, I'm sure many people are watching this and they're like, it wasn't a pleasant call. I'm going to be very frank. It was not pleasant. It was like a tooth extraction. It was like a real, like a root canal. Okay. But I want to tell you something. We got to the core. We got there. Okay. So I'm not here to give people entertainment. I know this was an excruciating process. It was excruciating for me, and I know it was at least I sense that it was excruciating for you. But we got clarity, so therefore I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be annoying, and I'm going to be boring. I'm not here to entertain anyone or hold anyone's interest. I want you to tell me again. I'm so sorry, but tell me again the truth, because I don't know. Were we talking for 30 minutes? How long were we talking for? You saw how long? 40 minutes?
About.
Okay.
And I didn't find it
So
excruciating.
at the end
I
of
find
the
it fascinating that you could do what you did.
Okay, at the end. Okay, thank God that you didn't find it too painful. We invested 40 minutes. Okay, we got this sentence that is so gold. It's so gold. I want you to say it to me again. Please say it to me again. You don't have to have the perfect words. Just say your words. Tell it to me again, because this is your truth.
I actually like your words. I think that's what hit me.
Whatever. Use my words. Whatever you want. Just tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth. I need to know the truth.
That I have inherent value.
Yes.
I am loved by my Creator. My
Yes.
Creator put me here for a purpose.
Yes.
My Creator believes in me.
Yes.
And I know for a fact.
Yes,
I know
for a fact.
that Hashem has given me. Well, yes, I do know that Hashem has given me a specific gifts and talents to be utilized in the world, which I have stolen from the world as I found myself getting more and more diminished. And I don't need to do that, no matter what anyone else says or makes me feel like, because I could just keep focusing on the truth of the fact that Hashem believes in me and Hashem loves me and put me here for a purpose, and that's what I need to focus on.
That's correct. And that when you focus on that, the course of action that you need to take will reveal itself. And that you don't have to figure out the course of action. You just have to keep remembering the truth.
I agree, and I appreciate it. And I actually found this extremely fascinating, not painful at all. And I appreciate you.
Thank God, because I want to tell you something. Like I told you, this was a tooth extraction, but you were awesome. I think probably a lot of people watching were squeamish, and they're like, what is he doing? He's screaming at her. I want to tell you something. You were awesome, and in 40 minutes, we got to the core. This was the thing that, unfortunately, growing up in your home, you were told the opposite. And now you know that this is the truth. You have value. You are precious. You are beloved. And you're here in the world to shine your light and not to diminish yourself for anybody. And if you'll just keep reminding yourself that, then what you need to do about it will become clear.
And the more I live like that, the more I will internalize it and start to actually feel it inherently inside me, right?
That's right. That's why I'm telling you, keep repeating that truth. Internalize is the word. You use the perfect word. Keep reminding yourself that truth. Keep reminding yourself that truth.
Yeah, but I have to act on it. I tell myself it all the time, but I don't act on it.
I already told that. You don't have to worry about that. I'm making it simple for you. Just keep repeating the truth. When you internalize it, it'll come out. It'll come out in your behaviors. It'll come out in your choices. Not only that, it'll come out in the choices that you even observe are possible. A lot of times we have choices in front of us, but we don't see that they're options, so we don't act on them. So it's not that we don't have the ability to choose, it's that we don't even see what the options are available. So the more you repeat to yourself that truth, the more you're going to see the options that are available.
Understood, and I agree, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you for the hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, awesome
Thank
call.
you so much.
Okay, and you know what? Have a restful Shabbos.
Thank
You
you.
deserve it. You worked hard tonight. Okay. You did.
You should live my life. This was easy.
Oh, this was easy
vacation.
compared to the rest of your crazy life. This was a picnic. Okay, great.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Baruch Hashem.
Now I get to go back to crazy. The other mothers, you can feel free to reach out to me. I understand
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
I'm here if you want to talk.
Email me your number, and I'll give it to the previous caller so you can talk to her about some parenting neurodivergent kids. Tips and advice and like that. Okay. Awesome. You were awesome. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
That was our last
Thank you,
caller.
good Shabbos.
Okay. Good Shabbos. Okay. So JFYI, yes, I know that was a long call. I know it was a meandering call, but I want to tell you something. We got to the end. We got to it. It's a tooth extraction. Sometimes you have to go in there and you're digging But if I work and the person I'm talking to is working, and she was locked in. Well, she, you know what happened? I don't want to speak about her. Well, she hung up. She's probably listening now on the live stream. That self-doubt crept in, and that was like the distraction. That's why I kept on trying to bat that away. That voice of self-doubt was just taking us. It's like the second we were gaining traction, like the self-doubt was coming in and like making everything slip away. So that's why I was trying to keep her on track. And Baruch Hashem, she kept working hard, and that was awesome. Awesome caller. And I'm sorry to those of you who were bored, or those of you who found it weird, or who were squeamish about it, but that's what hard work looks like, and that was an awesome caller. Okay, so I didn't have fun. No, I did not find that enjoyable, but I feel like it was time well spent. That's basically how I look at life, by the way. People ask me, like, having a good time? No, I don't have good times. That's not what I do. I'm not JJ. I'm not having good times. I like that reference. I'm here to be productive. I'm here to accomplish something. I feel that was a productive call because the caller was working hard, and that's what life's about. Okay, anyways. I'm tired. Is there anything else, anything else to talk about? No, we established like this custom of having like this musical finale. So you want to sing a song with me, Yisrael? Okay.
Mendy doesn't want you to sing Isha Style.
Mendy said don't sing Isha Style. Mendy's on tonight. He's making jokes about Alex Jones in the comments. What do you want to sing, Yisrael?
Whatever you like.
Whatever I would like. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to turn on the other mic. Okay, hold on. Talk into that mic. Okay, yeah, all right.
Testing.
Yeah, you're on. Okay, fine. Could you, like, lean in?
I don't know if I can get in the shot.
You're going to get in the shot, okay? I don't want people to see my messy desk, so I need you to just poke your head over here. Bring your head over here.
I don't know if I can get in. It's all right. I'll sing from here.
You sing from here?
Yeah.
Okay, what are we going to sing, Yisrael? What do you want to sing?
Yours.
What?
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, let's
Just a disclaimer. We're not like
We're not professionals.
we're not professionals. Yeah.
No, Yisrael, you have to get in the shot. Stand, go.
I'm not gonna get the mic then. We'll work it. We'll figure it out for next time. We'll do it.
Can you just poke your head in a little bit? Your mamish can't get in. Okay, fine. Forget it. Okay, but we're going to sing together. Okay. Ya da 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 ya ya mama ya ya mama ya la da 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 ya mama ya 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 mama
ma ya ya ma ma ha da 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 imezak shamayim shamata katzia she'alineka imezak shamayim shamata katzia she'alineka ya mama ya 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 mama ha da 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 ma ya 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 da 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 ya mama mama ha da 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 ya 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 da 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 ha da 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 da.
Mendy Hertz is making comments. Mendy, come on down to the studio.
It's a 5-minute walk.
He's at Coal Save.
Oh, he's at Coal Save. So
It's Thursday night. He's at
that's
my
right.
favorite store. He's at Coal Save right now, dealing with all the Thursday night shoppers, all the Jewish ladies come in Coal Save, and they're saying, "Do you have what's the big Mendy Hertz? What's like the big item that the Jewish ladies are asking for tonight? Like the Thursday night, right before midnight, they're coming in, and what do they want? What item are they asking for? What's the big popular last minute shopping spree item? I don't know. Waiting for him to respond. Okay, you saw anything? Hold on a second. Hold on.
There we go.
Now everybody can see. Now everyone can see how messy the desk is. This is why we're building a full-size studio in the SoulWords house at the Isle. The whole basement is going to be production studio, video production studio. So, all right. So now you're on camera, okay? All right. What do you want to sing?
Again, your decision.
My decision?
Yep.
Okay. Inner peace. Inner peace. That's the answer. Inner peace. The ladies are coming to Coal Save Thursday night looking for inner peace. Okay. How about this?
Do you want to tell us about that song, the previous song we sang?
No.
No. Okay.
No. They
another
heard enough of my talking. Mm-hmm. Need to sing a song. Okay, we're going to sing this. Ay, 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 Okay, very good. Any? Let's do one more. You have something?
What's the date? What's coming up?
What's coming up? Hey, Tavis is coming up.
Is that too fast to sing?
We could do a little Yidam Notzach, but okay. How about this? You ready? Mm-hmm. Da da ya da 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 ya ma ya ma ya 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 ma ma ya 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 ma ma ya ya ma ya 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 ha ya 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 ma ma ya ma ma ya 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 na ya ma ya ma ya ya ha ya 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 ma ya 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 ha ya 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 ma ya ya ha ya ya ma ya ya ma ya na ha ya 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 la da 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 ya 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 na ya ya na 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 ya na na ya na na ya na 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 ya na na ya na na ya na na ya ya. Excellent, Yisrael. This is why Yisrael is our beloved. You think Malki will come on?
No.
No.
Not right now.
Okay. No, not to sing.
Obviously no.
Okay. Thank you, Malki, for giving us Yisrael. That's Malki is Yisrael's wife, so it was Mesiras Nefesh of her to come down here. She's here. She's just not in the studio, but she's in the next room to let me make use of her husband, who happens to be my son. I knew him first, Malki, but you have to raise your kids and they move on, they grow up and have their own family. You got to be just grateful that they still come around, and I appreciate all of your help, Yisrael. People don't realize, by the way, Yisrael is the one who basically runs the call system and then puts it all on a Google Drive doc for me to look at so that I can know who's coming up in the queue. So thank you, Yisrael. And thank you, Malki and Taibel and Moshe, the two couples who really pushed that this should happen and are involved in it every single week and make sure that it happens every week. Okay, blessings to all of you. Have a restful Shabbos. I'm going to end the stream.
You are currently